Hey everybody, I want to go ahead and show y'all something before I start talking about the main subject here. Here's my little brother. His name is Brian Williams. He passed away on November the 7th, 2012. But here's some photos of him from when he was a little kid. Here's one of them from when he was a child. Here's another one of them when he was a baby. Here's another one of when he was a semi-grown man. I think he might have been maybe 15, 17 at the time. You know, very handsome young little man. And this is the old neighborhood where we grew up. Here he is at St. Michael's Academy for special students, special people, special kids. And here he is at the buffet line here. They were having a Christmas, Day celebration, as they always did annually. Here's another one of them of him hopping into the pool. And here he is. This is our old little swimming pool where we grew up in New Orleans East, Royals Place. So my deck, here's another one featuring him on the deck right there. It's our little old backyard again. And that's him when he was just a little baby, when he was a little kid. Here's another one of him sitting on my parents' beds. Speaking of which, here's another one of me featuring me and my little baby brothers. There's Brian again. Here's me when I was about maybe 11 years old. Here's another one of me, of my little brother Kristen with a sword in his hand. It's fake, don't worry. And here's my oldest brother Carrie, and we're all in the living room. Here's another one of my two little precious little brothers doting on each other. It's little Brian, and here's little Kristen, and they were both toddlers at the time when this was taken. This is so cute. This is so cute. This is one of his most adorable pictures. There they go. Brings back really happy memories and fun times for me. And here's another one of him by the Christmas tree in our old living room. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because my little brother was unjustifiably taken away from this world because Prozac, zyprexa, and Lexapro took him. Yes, that's right. He was murdered by those three drugs. He committed suicide after having psychotic delusions brought on by these drugs. It all started when he was displaced from the storm. My mother told me that, he had Asperger's. They finally got him diagnosed. He had Asperger's. And because Asperger's folks can't communicate like, regular people can, he just, he just, I don't want to say he went crazy, but, he was hitting stuff, and he was, he had that psycho strength, they call it, that so-called crazy people get, when you can't express yourself, you have this unhampered, unmitigated strength where you could just punch holes in walls. But he wasn't doing anything to that extreme. He was staying with my Aunt Beverly at the time. And, he was breaking things, hitting things, but it wasn't a whole lot. But my mom saw, but right after he started taking those drugs, that's when he started putting sticking things into electric sockets, jumping from 20 feet from the balcony in our backyard. He was telling the doctors of his thoughts of wanting to commit suicide, in one instance of him wanting to put grenades in his mouth and blowing himself up. And this is right after he started taking those medicines, those pills. He never had those problems before. He was just acting out because, of course, he was displaced and he couldn't express himself. But when he started taking those pills, that's when he really lost his mind. He started acting violently. My parents, it even got to a point where they feared that their lives were in danger. And that's how bad he was. And this all started from when my mother, not knowing how to deal with his temper tantrums, trying her best to deal with his temper tantrums, let me be fair here, brought him to the emergency room at Oxner. And she said, and she'll never forget, that after he was committed there against his will for 5 weeks, he came out like a vegetable, just like many people on YouTube report, having encountered after seeing a psychiatrist or seeing a psychologist. And she reported that, he came out like a vegetable. He was never the same ever again. He was never the same. And this poor little thing, because what happened is that they first got him started on prozac and zyprexa. He was taking about when his psychotic delusions as a result of the drug started to increase, they increased his dosage, which made him even worse. I think it was at that point when they increased his dosage that he started jumping from the balcony and doing crazy things and contemplating suicide. So that night he went around my parents' new neighborhood and started banging on doors and asking people could he live with him. Could he live with him? Because that night his computer was broken. He didn't break it, by the way. His computer was broken. He was trying to fix it. And he couldn't. He doesn't have the wherewithal or the skills to be able to fix a computer, so he went crazy. And then at one point he punched, as he usually did after he started taking the drugs, he punched a whatchamacallit of glass, a pitcher with glass in the bathroom. And then after my parents scalded him, he ran out into the wild of night and banged on doors, knocking on doors, asking people could he live with him, could he live with him. With one guy, and I can kind of understand. This is Louisiana, by the way, New Orleans. I mean, not New Orleans, but this is Louisiana, by the way. He brought out a bat, telling him, hey, threatening him, don't come around here, leave, I understand, the person's got to protect their family, man's got to protect his family. And then all of a sudden, about a couple hours later, or maybe not even a couple hours later, there was a knock on the door from the police, from the sheriff's department out there, St. Tammany Parish Sheriff's Department. They knocked on the door. Lil Brian at this point, and because the people at auction had told him to call 911, he literally, if he had any problems, if he had any concerns whatsoever, he started literally taking the dial in 911 to tell the cops about his day and to tell them about his problems. And thankfully, they were very patient, super patient. As a matter of fact, I've had an encounter with them, and they were very, very nice. They're nothing like, well, I'm not going to get into all of that, but he, was always on very good terms. So he was shocked this time around when the bass of their voice changed and when they were a lot more serious in their tone. He thought that meant that he was going straight to jail. And that's when he found my parents' gun and offed himself. And I sincerely believe that if it wasn't my parents' gun, he would have got a knife, he would have got something. The reason why I'm bringing this up, the reason why this relates to the Sandy Hook massacre is because, see, people are attacking guns. Guns don't kill people. People kill people. Same thing with the Colorado massacre. The one link here between all of those things is not guns. The main problem here, all along, and a lot of people are just missing the point, is medication. Gunmen who massacred 12 at movie premiere used same drugs that killed Batman star Heath Ledger and message web lovers. It's right there. The medication he took was Vicodin. See that right there? And poor Heath Ledger committed suicide as a result of Vicodin. Same thing with the Sandy Hook massacre guy. Show you something. There it goes right there. Eric Harris took Lovox. Paxil, Zoloft, Effexor, all of these things that they tell you for banal, quote-unquote, illnesses like depression, something we all have to experience in our lifetimes just to be human. Oh, you need Paxil if you're feeling depressed. Kip Kinkle, another school shooter, was on Prozac and Ritalin. He was on the drug Famnapt. That's the drug he was taking at the time. The Colorado, James Holmes, the Colorado Massacre shooter. He was taking Famnapt. And a lot of people, when you try to do a Google search on these drugs, it's a shame, but, they barely pull up anything about the harmful, insidious side effects that these drugs carry and harbor. See, a lot of people are blaming guns, but this is not about guns. This is the medication. This is about the medication. And all of these medications come straight from Eli Lilly. And Eli Lilly is a very powerful pharmaceutical company that suppresses all of this knowledge. It suppresses all this information. As a matter of fact, their biggest detractors are the Church of Scientology. And it's no wonder that they're trying to hush them up by proclaiming to the public, oh, they're a cult. Don't listen to them. Don't listen to them. There's a reason why. And it's because Eli Lilly generates $20 billion off the deaths of millions of suicides caused by their drugs, their prescription drugs per year at their hands. And none of this is being reported. None of this is being said. As a matter of fact, there was a case involving a bunch of, very prominent psychologists who are world-renowned in their field from universities all over the world, Cambridge, Oxford, Harvard, Yale. They wanted to bring a lawsuit against them for all of the harmful drugs that they put on the market. Eli Lilly, that is. When these psychiatrists, psychologists, therapists filed this lawsuit against Eli Lilly, all of a sudden, Eli Lilly launched a campaign to destroy their reputation, undermine their prestigious titles at these schools, and pretty much try to push them into ruin and financial obscurity as well. And that's what Eli Lilly do to their foes. And that's how they're able to keep so much information suppressed. But there are many lawsuits being filed against them for that. There have been many lawsuits. As a matter of fact, I just read recently of some pregnant women who were complaining about miscarriages being caused by a psychotropic drug brought to them by none other than Eli Lilly. So for all of you out there who are blaming guns, at the end of the day, when you go to a gun show, there's a reason why all of the people come out alive. Unless somebody has a heart attack or two. But there's a reason why people come out of it alive. It's because guns can be used for evil. It can be used, it's a killing weapon, of course, but it can also be used for protection as well. My mother was almost raped when she was a nurse, and she was walking through a dark parking lot once. If it wasn't for the gun she had on her, she wouldn't have been saved, and she possibly would have been cursed with a lifetime of heavy trauma and, just horrible things. So guns can be your savior. They can be a murderer. They can also be your savior as well. But these drugs here, these drugs are good for no one. All of these drugs, these psychotropic drugs, Famnapt, Zoloft, zyprexa, none of these drugs are good for anybody. And if anything, instead of bashing the NRA, instead of bashing guns, people need to start going after these psychotropic drugs, because that's the primary link you see in all these massacres, are psychotropic drugs being introduced and put on the market by Eli Lilly, that are untested. They pay the FDA to look the other way while they induce suicides in so many kids and so many people, adults. As a matter of fact, go on YouTube and you can hear the stories of people who took those drugs themselves and they'll say themselves that it didn't get better, it just made them worse. It made them psychotic. If they were psychotic already, it made them worse. And start pointing the finger at that. Mexico, for instance, has a gun ban, but yet they have so much violence over there, it's not even funny. But yet they ban guns, so go figure. But the true link here are these psychotropic drugs. And the sooner people realize that the psychotropic drugs are the culprits behind the Sandy Hook massacre, behind the Colorado the eight are shooting, the safer our kids and all of us will be. Anyways, thank you so much for listening, and goodbye.